They didn't yell, they didn't riot, they simply stayed until the law kept its promise. In 1977, over 100 disabled Americans occupied a federal building in San Francisco, and some came in wheelchairs, and some with walking sticks, and others with hearing aids or sign language. And many had never taken over a space like this before, but they all understood something simple and urgent. Rights on paper don't matter if no one enforces them. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act had already passed in 1973. It was the first federal law to recognize disability as a civil rights issue, banning discrimination by any program receiving federal funds. But for 4 years, the government delayed the regulations that would actually make it enforceable. So, in April of '77, they took action. Protesters entered the health, education, and welfare offices in San Francisco and refused to leave. Day after day, week after week, sleeping on the floor, holding press conferences and signing messages out of windows. When officials cut the phone lines, allies and interpreters relayed updates to the outside. The Black Panther Party brought hot meals. Churches and neighborhood groups delivered food and supplies. It was the longest peaceful occupation of a federal building in U.S. history. They weren't asking for favors. They were demanding that the law be honored. And on April 28, 1977, after nearly 4 weeks of pressure, HEW Secretary Joseph Califano signed the 504 regulations. The protesters held their ground for 2 more days, and then they left, having won. From that moment, any public school, hospital, university, or transit system receiving federal funds was legally required to provide access and accommodations. It was a turning point, one that laid the groundwork for the Americans with Disabilities Act that happened more than a decade later. And here's why it matters in 2025. We're in a time when many feel powerless, like institutions don't listen, and the system's too slow or too insulated to respond. But this story reminds us that when people gather behind a clear, lawful demand and stay rooted in discipline and solidarity and community, change doesn't just feel possible, it happens. If rights only come alive when someone insists on them, what would you be willing to sit for? And who would sit beside you? And if you're craving space for reflection and connection, I'm hosting a 30-minute Zoom salon on The Wisdom We Forgot, Small Truths for a Fractured Time. That's on Thursday, November 6th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I'll share a short reading, and then we'll talk. It's limited to just 8 people, and only a few spots are left. The link's here on screen if you would like to reserve your spot.